Okay, I just started
Shiro
recording.
and Ainz have already heard this story, but that was in the last recording, which obviously the whole thing got messed up, so we're redoing it.
Yeah, I got
and it's a good thing you showed up because I wanted to get someone's first genuine reaction to this series.
Yeah, Shiro fucked up his recording, right?
Yeah.
So, like, what happened? Were you recording on phone?
No, my footage was on phone, but laptop. It was on laptop, that's why.
Oh, I don't know what happened. I was gonna say, if you're on phone, then that makes sense because you can't really, like, record your own voice
No.
and the stuff that's on the screen at the same time.
So that's why I'm, like, confused.
Okay.
So I appreciate...
Okay, so what story are you telling me then?
So, Salty, this is a series on Reddit known as the Pajama Beard Saga in r/Tales of Neckbeards. Written by user Hunting Red October.
Okay.
This first part is called The Beard in the Striped Pajamas, and let me tell you, when I first clicked on this story years ago, I was expecting something very different.
Okay.
From that title. Okay.
Okay. So you're gonna read it to me.
Yes.
Okay.
To preface this, I have never posted on Reddit before and made this account solely to share my hellish summer experiences with a beard I call Pajama Beard. I have more stories than this and will type them up and post them if there seems to be an interest, but in the meantime, enjoy the cringe. The cast. Me, a 17-year-old straight female who has an unhealthy obsession with trout fishing. This is important for later. I'll just refer to myself as October for this. Now,
This is already a bad story. This is already a bad story. There's no females on Reddit. There's no females on Reddit. Easy. I win, right? That was the correct answer to that test.
It's funny that you mention that because Shiro's headcanon is that this entire series was actually written by a dude and this is somehow a fetish post.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll see.
I mean, the fact that she refers to herself as a straight female is already a red flag.
Yes.
So I'm gonna treat this. You know that what is that other YouTube channel? Movie Sins.
Yeah.
Cinema Sins.
This is Reddit post sins. We're gonna see how many sins we can find that tells me. If
Oh my god, man! Don't be Cinema Sins, man. No one respects Cinema Sins anymore.
Oh, yeah. Well, this isn't Cinema Sins. This is Reddit Sins.
Oh, that's fair. Anyway,
considering Redditors, that's probably gonna mean jack shit, but you know.
Yeah. Anyway, Pajama Beard, a 22-year-old straight male who wears those shirts with howling wolves on them. You know the ones.
Yeah.
Dan, the boss man. He owns the lodge I work at and was often a witness to my encounters with Pajama Beard.
Gotcha.
Okay. Also, just remember that OP is 17. That's going to be important later. Shiro, Ainz, don't spoil it for him.
I won't.
Okay. This summer started off in a typical way by my personal standards. I get out of school, it's my junior year going into senior year, pack up my truck, and drive 4 hours to a little camp nestled in the eastern Sierras. Period. Where I work and live for 3 months during the summer, cleaning cabins and running a tiny bait and tackle shop. That's another thing that in the original recording, I harped on this a lot, but there are a lot of typos.
The story we were
Mostly
just
missing
reading.
commas.
The story we were just
How
reading had that
long
too.
ago did you find this story? This is one of your favorites, right?
Yeah, I found this back in high school.
Damn, alright.
Probably like the first year that this story was posted. It's 4 years old at this point.
Oh, so that was like the beginning of high school then.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
It's a beautiful place that lies beneath the Palisades Glacier with the cleanest, coldest water you'll ever drink. This place is my safe haven, a refuge, if you will, from a somewhat tumultuous home life. A place where I can make money, fish, and be totally cut off from the outside world, as there is no cell service up there, with zero disturbance or distractions. I just want to say, this place sounds like absolute hell.
That's because you're chronically online. You're probably, honestly, if there's anyone here in this group who is likely to be a Redditor, it would be you.
I mean, I do have a Reddit account, but shut up, we don't talk
Yeah,
about that.
well, I have a Reddit account too, but I only use it for r/piracy.
Oh, man, fucking admitting to crimes on a public forum? Who are you, the this story?
Is the most likely to actually be a successful. So Shiro is the most likely person here to be an actually successful and functioning human being, Okay, Ainz is the most likely to actually make a decent amount of money and live a normal life. Okay, because he's going to school for you know what already, fucking nerd. I'm the most likely to probably get like peer pressured into a fucking crime ring and sell drugs. All right, like I'm the most. Let's be honest here. I wouldn't be a school shooter. I would be the most likely to sell drugs. All right, I'm surprised I haven't already. Like crime. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Like criminals and stuff like that. Like they make good cash, dude. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's pretty enticing. And
also,
yeah,
you
you're
just
just a redditor.
completely glossed over the fact. You just completely glossed over the fact that I just casually mentioned that the OP confesses to several crimes in this series.
Wait, what? I thought you were talking about me admitting to a crime being an r/piracy, but
I said admitting to a crime on a public forum. Who are you, the OP of this series?
oh, I didn't hear that part. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You see later.
Anyway, however, this summer was destined to be one that was extremely trying, thanks to none other than a neckbeard. Which, this is another thing. The OP has a bad habit of taking words, like compound words that should be one single word, and splitting them up into two words without even hyphenating them.
So just grammar issues.
Yeah. Lots of grammar issues. A neckbeard whom I have deemed Pajama Beard. I had just gotten to the campsite and quite literally had just been handed the keys to my small summer cabin with Dan when I noticed a very large RV crossing the small bridge over the creek headed toward the campground. I mean, this sucker was huge. The full package, it seemed, must have cost an arm and a leg. Dan turns to me and says, "October, get your stuff unpacked and get settled in. I'm gonna watch this dumbass try and bring that behemoth in here." I simply reply with, "All right," and head back to my truck so that I could pull in next to cabin 2, the one I would be staying in. But by the time I had hopped up into the driver's seat and turned my key in the ignition, the look on Dan's face had gone from enthused to downright dumbfounded. The massive RV wasn't pulling into the campground, it was attempting to pull into the small circle drive in front of the tackle shop where guests come to check in. These asshats weren't campers, they were lodging in one of the cabins. Realizing quickly that I would be in the way of this monster, I pulled up the brake, put the truck in drive, and hurried to my cabin. The unpacking process went uneventfully as I'm pretty good at packing light and make sure to be very organized. That's another thing. That line isn't necessarily indicative of it, but there are several points in this story that are very I'm not like other girls, you know?
Gotcha. So even more reason to believe that this isn't an actual girl. Good to
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of red flags to that.
I'm still skeptical.
Yeah. However, I could not say the same for the remainder of that day. Seeing as I didn't start working officially until the next day and therefore hadn't been paid, I hadn't bothered to buy fresh groceries yet. I had canned stuff, but nothing perishable. I decided I would take the opportunity to go fishing so that I could have rainbow trout and hash for dinner. So I rigged up my pole, tied up my boots, and tied my knife to the...
We're pausing. This person is supposed to be 17, correct?
Yes.
This is like full-grown, 28-year-old, like adult male kind of shit. Like I'm not saying that people can't fish females, but like you're out in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, fishing for yourself, feeding for yourself. Like who is your guardian? What the fuck?
That's another thing. She is completely by herself. Dan is the only adult supervision in this place, and she is still, by California law, legally a child.
Yes.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, this takes place in California.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. That explains a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I rigged up my pole, tied up my boots, and tied my knife to the loops in my jeans where a belt would go, and set off to catch dinner. At first, the fishing was uneventful and typical of creek fishing. I had caught 2 decent rainbows when, while crawling through the brush toward a clearing, I noticed a flash of blue and green fabric run by. By run, I mean at best a brisk walk. Once I had stood up, my eyes unknowingly beheld what would be the bane of my existence for the next 3 months. There, about 15 yards in front of stood Pajama Beard in green and blue striped pajama pants that were about 3 sizes too small, and a graphic wolf tee with an image of a wolf howling at a full on the edge of a cliff. Classy. And yes, I am reading the typos as they're written.
Okay, gotcha.
The sunlight had caught the top of his head, giving his ratty-looking black hairy an unholy greasy shine. And when he turned toward me, I saw what looked like pube hair haphazardly glued to his rotund chin, and I kid you fucking not, a full unibrow. Noticing my apparent shock, Pajama Beard grew nearer. I think I'm supposed to say drew nearer. He grew nearer and spoke in an obviously faked deep voice. What's a fair girl like you doing out here in the woods all by herself?
That sounds like the start to a fucking horror story. Oh, hold on, my sister's dog just jumped on me. Oh, Willow, why? Not my coffee, no. That's my nice coffee, stop. I have two of them now. Winston's here too, he's trying to bite me. Ah, you fucking munchkins.
It's funny that you mentioned Dogsy.
Oh, God.
I mean, Salty. God
What
damn
is
it.
Is this gonna become a... No, just bleep it. I don't give a shit. You can even use my normal...
It's funny that you mentioned dogs, Salty.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
What, did she fuck one?
Well, no, it's not that bad, but just you wait. No one had ever questioned what I was doing there before, even in a rhetorical way. Anyone with a quarter of a brain cell would be able to tell very quickly that I was fishing. I replied shortly, fishing, then asked, why are you running around in the woods in pajamas? There's a stinging nettle around here, you know. He retorted with, a man like me has nothing to fear from the woods, especially with my abilities. It took every fiber of my being not to bust myself up laughing. This 5-inch, 8-inch, 300-pound butterball in fucking pajamas had nothing to fear in the woods with no internet to save him. Yeah, right? But I held myself together and replied simply, okay, but seriously, be careful. 11 hikers have died up here in the past few years because they were caught unprepared. Oh, I'll be fine, Pajama Beard said, still making the shitty, fake, deep voice. Also, this is another nitpick. She calls him Pajama Beard, and yet he doesn't actually tell her his name until part 2. just like also, he literally refers to himself as Pajama Beard because obviously anonymity reasons. Mm-hmm. So it's just like a weird creative choice. But anyway. After all, they were probably just human.
Well, if there's one thing I learned from writing class, it's that you don't give information until it's actually necessary in the story.
Exactly, yeah.
However, the fact that it's written in that way just gives me more evidence to say that it's fake, because most of the times when you meet someone for the first time, the first thing you're going to ask is their name.
Mm-hmm.
Like.
So what are we trying to do here? Am I just reacting to it? Or are we trying to, like, is this, like, series going to be, like, you know, true Reddit stories or something like that, where we guess if the Reddit story is actually true or not, I guess. I don't know.
No, it's just
that, and also just, like, getting your guys' reaction to these.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just a minute.
Okay, sweet.
I have read a lot of these, and so I just need you guys to share my pain.
Okay.
Anyway, after all, they were probably just human. I stopped walking for a moment, floored by what this guy had just uttered. Stopping was a huge mistake. I could smell him before he reached me. Major BO, even over the smell of salmon eggs and trout. I could smell him. The pungency was ungodly. Fucking no commas. Oh my god. He spoke again, keeping up with my now hurried pace to escape his foul range.
This man is a walking McDonald's fryer bin. Like, seriously.
Oh my god.
He's got the taste and he's got the smell. Delicious. My favorite.
Jesus. For any normal man, harsh snow or surviving in the woods would be a problem. I could hear him sort of huffing as he walked altitude, and faking a deep voice will do that to the obese. But I'm not just any man, so it's not a problem for me. Like I said, I have abilities. Is one of those abilities an inability to breathe through your nose? I ask, trying not to laugh at my own joke. I do that too much for my own good. He seemed stunned by my crack at him, almost as if he couldn't believe the fair lady had dared to question him. I'll have you know, he said, awkwardly grabbing my shoulder with his meaty hand, physically spinning me around. I am a lichen. You'll regret saying that, I swear. You better hope I'm not hungry tonight. And And that's tonight, but with an exclamation point instead of a T.
Tonight.
I wish this wasn't what he said, but it was verbatim. I could say nothing. I just stared in a sort of disbelief, then removed his clammy hand from my innocent shoulder and hurried back to my cabin. After reaching my cabin and firmly locking the door, I observed through a window Pajama Beard waddling toward a cabin, the one which the Overkill RV had pulled up next to. The one I would surely have to clean by Friday or so, I thought. In my head, I imagined the smell of a week's worth of festering BO built up in there and gagged. That evening, when I went out the back to clean the 2 trout I had caught, I swore I heard someone's weak attempt at howling in the nearby woods. And I do mean weak. I did my best to ignore it, still confused about what had happened to me earlier. After cleaning the trout, I lugged the water bucket, now full of trout innards and blood, toward the wood's edge away from the cabin so that the wasps wouldn't disturb the guests. As I dumped out the bucket at the base of a large pine, I saw out of the corner of my eye none other than Pajama Beard, eyeing me from behind a large pine, except it wasn't quite large enough as his belly was clearly visible from my angle, even after he ducked behind it.
Okay, gotcha.
Deciding in that moment I wanted revenge for the cringe interaction and weird threat earlier, I grabbed my knife and removed it from it is holster, because it's spelled with an apostrophe, then proceeded to smear it with bloody trout guts that I had poured out at the base of the tree. This isn't a small knife, mind you. Then as quietly as I could, I stalked over to the large pine where Pajama Beard was hiding, creeping toward the tree, till I could hear his heavy mouth breathing, then said aloud, "What the hell do you think you're doing running around in the woods in the dark?" I said this while simultaneously whipping around the tree, bloody knife gripped tightly in hand. So now we've gotten to the point where we're still in the first part of this series, and OP has already become cringe.
It gets worse, just to let you guys know. It
Yeah.
gets worse.
The person who wrote this story is actually the Pajama Beard.
Oh my god. Anyway, Pajama Beard.
They drank the whole McDonald's fryer bin grease, and they went on an absolute. They tripped absolute balls after the fact. This is what happened.
Pajama Beard was already quite the pale fellow, but he looked like a ghost now, even in the waning light. Without a word, he turned on his heel and wallowed for his life back toward the cabins. So much for being a big, strong werewolf with abilities, right? That was my first day and first encounter with Pajama Beard. There's a lot more, and they get even more cringy as time goes on, as eventually the beard...
Say cringy?
It's cringy, spelled without an E.
Ah, gotcha.
As eventually the beard would decide he wanted me to be his mate. However, I was and still am in the same long-term relationship, keep that in mind, but he would still try to win me over with his wolfish charm even when the boy came up to visit me. And I said this to Shiro and Ainz last time, but it's very interesting that she refers to her mysterious unnamed boyfriend as a boy. Alright. Edit, 8 commenters is more than enough for me to be motivated to share another story, so I've decided to go in chronological order. This is another thing that we pointed out last time. She does this thing where it's like, oh, maybe I'll share if I'm motivated enough to do so.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's not really that surprising, I guess.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird to me, you know?
I mean, it's just typical Reddit behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they use on that website? Sorry, shit, fuck. Gotta bleep that again. What do they use in that website, Titan? What is it, Karma or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, avoid.
I don't know. I think I have like 2 Karma. I don't even think I posted anything.
Yeah, with some measure of luck, a second encounter will be out tonight. I have so many that I may have to cherry pick. After all, it was virtually 3 months of this guy being a worthless rat. Okay, so, part 2. Look, they're all out of order, so I have to keep scrolling up and down.
Oh yeah, that was like a big problem that Titan had, was everything was out of order for some reason.
I don't know how. It was all in order, like when I first read this story.
They fucked
How
it
long
up.
did it take you guys to read this yesterday?
I don't know,
You don't
like
wanna
an
know.
hour and a half.
You don't want to know.
Hour
Don't.
and a
Okay.
It's bad.
Yeah, okay. Although, I'm debating whether or not we should actually read the whole series, or if we should just do half.
You couldn't pay me enough money to sit here.
Okay, we'll just do the first 3 parts then.
Yeah.
It's a 7-part series.
Well,
Because I still have the 2 dogs here with me, and they're
Okay, yeah.
they're
So we can
begging-
always save the other 4 parts for next time.
Yeah.
Okay. Since my first... Oh, fuck. Pajama Beard Encounter 2. That's
Hold
not
on.
a gummy worm.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
Since my first Pajama Beard post attracted some attention, I present to you my second noteworthy encounter with the Pajama Beard. For reference, this is only 48 hours after the encounter detailed in my first Pajama Beard post. The cast. Me, October. 17-year female who enjoys elk jerky, again important to future stories. Pajama Beard, the 22-year-old male werewolf who was determined to fill my life with autism. Now, I said this last time, but OP can be pretty based when she wants to be.
A little bit.
Also, I gotta clarify, the people listening to this, I am autistic, don't cancel me.
Yes, we have the you know, I don't care if I get canceled. You can cancel me. I don't give a shit. I get along with the autistic gang. All right, me and autistic gang, we can chill. All right, they're better than normal people. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, although I don't think Pajama Beard is autistic, I think he's just fucking insane.
No, he's just fucking retarded.
Oh no.
Also, don't worry, I gave him the R-word pass.
I mean, sorry, that was a burp. I was drinking iced coffee because I'm fucking
Are
tired.
you gonna say something before you burped, or...?
No, I just wanted to make a noise in the mic.
Okay.
Okay.
Pajama Beard's mom, the overweight, middle-aged white woman who spawned our neckbeard friend. Dan, the boss man, owner of The Lodge and Cabins, aka my boss. Lodge is in quotes because it is nothing more than a foundation due to an avalanche than a fire. The lodge was rebuilt 5 times before they gave up on it. Honestly, it sounds like this place is fucking cursed.
Oh, like I was telling Titan.
So, like I told you, see, this is more of a horror story than anything.
Exactly.
Like I was telling Titan.
2 days after...
I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
No, like I was telling Titan. The whole area is just unsafe, basically, from what we hear.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
later on, we're gonna get to, it's gonna say that, like, Pajama Beard exits the building and it shakes. Like, I know it's supposed to be hyperbole, but, like, Jesus Christ, he's 300 pounds?
Pajama Beard
That's enough.
Pajama Beard is actually a ghost. He just haunts the area.
Yeah.
Anyway, 2 days after my arrival at my summer job, after my first encounter with Pajama Beard, I had begun working as the cashier in the tiny bait and tackle shop at the main camp. Alright, get this. Yes, I am aware that according to California state law, this is illegal, and no, I don't care.
I mean, having kids work underage when they're like 17 or whatnot isn't that big of a deal to me.
Yeah, it's just...
It's the difference between like morality and like the law, you know?
Legality.
Yeah, morality and legality. So it's like,
Yeah, I know it's not that big a deal, but it is a good indicator of what's to come.
yeah, I get that.
My job here is pretty simple. I ring people up and try to sell them somewhat overpriced fishing bait and snacks, or sometimes try to sell them firewood. Also, we're gonna learn later on that they apparently sell expired food too.
Yes.
All
Sounds
goes
like
fine.
Sounds like a proper mom and pop shop.
All goes fine for 2 days. The shop is open from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., but for an hour before and an hour after I run the little shop, I do any cabin cleaning or grounds maintenance Dan asks me to. Also, around noon to 1 o'clock, which is my lunch hour, I fish. Oh, fuck. The third day begins typically. Cabin 13 needed to be cleaned, so I scramble over there and scroobed that bitch top to bottom. As guests arrive at 11 a.m. and I do the cleanup/prep. Due to the strange arrangement of the cabins, 13 is only a small privacy line of trees away from cabin 17, the cabin in which Pajama Beard and his parents are residing. So this is a bit of a nitpick, but she says Pajama Beard and his parents, and yet his mom is the only other person we see living with him.
Yeah, that's about it in the story when it comes to the parents.
Yeah, like, she says parents, so it's implied that his dad is also there, but he's just perpetually off screen, you know?
Maybe he just doesn't give a shit. Like, he's like one of those where he's like, why am I here?
Yeah, he just sits on the couch all day drinking beer.
Yeah.
No, what he does is he's just one of those dads that, like, just pretends to be asleep. You know, he's like, Dad, wake up. It's my 16th birthday. You've been asleep for like 10 years.
He was like, a long nap where I go get groceries.
It's just the evolution of the dad who went out to get milk and never came back.
Yeah.
He's like, why would I leave? I can just pretend to be comatose. Easy.
I haven't seen Pajama Beer since I spooked him 2 days earlier, so I think nothing of it and continue doing my job. Unfortunately, as I'm rushing to leave 13, I was running about 10 minutes behind. The stove was really nasty. I glance over at 17. Shouldn't have done that. I notice one of 17's shades is pulled back. 17 has 2 nice big front windows, implying that the other cabins don't, I guess. And I can just make out the pudgy figure staring at me. Knowing full well who it was, look away and increase my already fast pace to the tackle shop's rear mudroom / the closet in which we keep all the cleaning supplies. The morning before my lunch break goes by uneventfully. I end up dusting most of the shop because stuff is so rarely purchased there it gathers dust, and no one wants to buy dusty chips, sealed or not. Keep in mind, most of it is probably expired.
Yeah.
I sell a bundle of firewood to someone who had come up from the campground, though, so that was good.
Now, hold on. I have a question for all of you.
Uh-huh.
Did any of you eat expired chips?
No, but I assume it's stale and awful.
They're not open. They're past the date on the bag.
I mean, it depends. Like, if I'm hungry enough, maybe.
Yeah. So I might not touch like the dusty bag, and you know.
Like,
why not? It's still, like,
I'm gonna feel guilty about it, but I'll still eat it.
Like, it's just dust on the outside.
I mean,
like the inside of the bag is still fine. I think
fair.
all the chemicals that they put in those things, that is really just an excuse to get you to buy another bag.
Yeah.
I feel like
Anyway.
I don't believe those things go bad. They're like, I think most of these things are like Twinkies, okay? Like, they're just never gonna go bad.
12 o'clock rolls around and I take my break. I decide to make myself some mac and cheese back at my own cabin. Kraft mac and cheese, yum. That's another thing that I fucking tripped me up. How do you misspell the N in mac and cheese?
that's something we all. You gotta.
Yeah. Honestly, to the people listening to this, I honestly wish you guys could have listened to the original recording.
Why?
You
What
were
happened?
struggling so badly.
It was so much funnier than what this has been so far.
Why? Because you were struggling to read it?
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
And also Shiro had like some really like funny commentary.
You can still splice them together, you know. You don't just have to do my reaction.
I head down through the camp. Oh fuck, hang on, wrong. I lost my spot. Fuck. And note, at this point, I still hadn't driven into town to buy fresh groceries. After eating, I fish the stream for a little while. I head down through the campground, then back up, and I end up catching my limit in about 30-ish minutes. Found 2 really nice holes with a bunch of hungry trout. Okay, so here's another thing. This person seems to fish almost every day. Her breath must smell awful.
Not necessarily. Like, raw fish doesn't smell nearly as bad as cooked fish does.
Yeah,
Smokes the trout before she eats it.
That's not true. That can't be true. Smoking,
she does.
smoking takes a long time. They'd never be eating.
True. Thinking about that, 'cause, like,
No,
yeah,
she
smoking.
says
Smoking-
that she
smoking
smokes a
can take-
trout.
Smoking can take hours, my guy. Like that's not like you don't just decide to smoke a trout. Like you get your bunch and you smoke it all in one go.
Yeah, that's another warning sign that this might be fake, since this person probably doesn't know what smoking trout actually means.
I'm not familiar with fishing that much. A lot of this other stuff might be true, but the smoking I know for sure because my uncle goes hunting. Like
Right.
you don't just smoke something on a whim.
Yeah, she probably thinks that smoking just means like cooking it on a spit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smoking is like you cut them
Fake
thin or
poor
into
girl.
strips, and you lay it over like some kind of grate, and then you cover it. You put like almost like a tent shape. Like that's like the really primitive way of doing it. You can also have a smoker, which makes it a lot easier.
But it takes longer, yeah, the regular smokers, the new ones.
I don't think it takes longer per se. I think it kind of just depends. Most of the times, like having a designated smoker is going to do a lot better of a job than just doing it over a fire the old-fashioned way.
True.
Yeah.
Anyway, on my way back, I stopped by my cabin briefly to put my catch in a bucket of cold water and grab some of the homemade elk jerky that had been given to me by a family friend. I walk toward the shop entrance and my mood takes an immediate 180. Standing at the door to the shop, waiting for me, is Pajama Beard. Damn, I thought to myself internally, thought I had scared him off. He looks toward me and in a droning voice, he is no longer trying to fake a deep voice. I've been waiting for 15 minutes. The sign says you open at 1 o'clock. Sorry, I replied bitterly, my dinner doesn't catch itself. I don't exactly recall what he said in response, but it was something having to do with how girls can't hunt and fish as well as men can, or some crap like that. So, I mentioned this earlier, but a warning sign for fake neckbeard stories is that they fit every stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, he's sexist, too, on top of being overweight and smelly.
Like, you're a realistic neckbeard, but this person's not.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, what the fuck do you mean I'm a realistic neckbeard? Oh my god. Anyway, while he was talking, I noticed he was wearing pajamas. Again. Oh yes, I replied sarcastically while opening the door. I could smell him again, real bad this time. I'm sure someone with your abilities is more than capable of providing your own food. Pajama Beard picked up on my sarcasm, and while I turned the lights back on and took my place behind the counter, he droned on about how his abilities were not something to joke about, and how he had only spared me 2 nights prior because I was a fair young maiden who had simply made a foolish mistake. And since he was so wise and merciful, he decided not to provide himself a human meal, and had instead elected to consume a young doe.
Oh, that always gets me. Hearing that always makes me die inside. It's like, you know those people,
I feel like I just had enough of a dose of cringe throughout my life where I've just stopped feeling anything.
You're welcome.
Not feeling anything.
Never in my short, sweet life thus far had I ever felt so much disgust and secondhand embarrassment at the same time. This guy both belittled and praised me in the course of a few sentences. Upon finishing his monologue, he came to the counter clutching a cherry Pepsi and 3 bags of Cool Ranch Doritos, most likely expired. I rang him up and he noticed the elk jerky sitting on the counter. I had been snacking while he was blabbing. Okay, so about this, we had a whole ass discussion.
He literally chose the worst alternative soda and the worst alternative Dorito.
Hold on, what the fuck do you mean worst alternative Dorito?
Don't you
If you
insult
think
Cool
Cool Ranch is
Ranch?
better than nacho cheese, you are fucking crazy.
I am crazy.
I like them both equally.
I can agree with that.
Okay. Glad we could come to an understanding. But anyway, she says she's sitting...
Just because you like them equally does not mean that Cool Ranch is better than nacho cheese.
Oh, whatever.
Cool Ranch is better than nachos.
She says she's been snacking on the elk jerky, right? Now, we had a whole ass discussion in the last recording about how October is kind of a bad employee.
Yes, very.
What's wrong
Shiro,
with
do you
snacking
wanna
on the
explain?
job, man? I wouldn't give a shit.
Shiro, do you want to explain?
Okay, so like, you're not supposed to. So here's the thing. So me and Titan were talking about this, right? So basically, why she's a bad employee, you'll find out, is that she likes to backtalk to her manager's son, to the customers, right? She later hurts one of the customers.
Wait, hold on. Is she back talking to the customers or is she back talking to the manager's son?
Both. She does it both
Okay.
times. Not only that.
I don't think back talking to I don't think back talking.
But she backtalks to Pajama Beer, and he technically is a customer.
Yes, and
I feel like that's different though, because she has prior experience with him.
He does backtalk to her boss's son, which is a big no-no.
that
I don't think that. No. I have an argument for that. Does the son have any actual authority over her in the business?
it's not
He
stated,
works at the lodge.
but it's
No,
one
I
of
mean,
those-
does he work? Does he work there? Is he her manager? Does he oversee her, or is he just the manager's son?
It's complicated. It's never really specified, but he does do work around the lodge. The exact power
Is
structure.
he
is
in
never
a position of power to like tell her like you're fired kind of thing?
The only time he ever appears is when his dad tells him to go tell what the fuck?
Oh, he ran off. He ran off with the story.
God damn it!
he freed himself.
He distracted us. No.
Let's just give him a few minutes. Hang on.
I think though,
Okay.
like, I think normally in like a family-run business, it's fine. But like,
Yeah.
corporate business-wise, like if they find out, because like when I was applying for my job, they're telling me like, yeah, you can't do smack. You like more like you will get reported if you talk smack.
Yeah.
It is different from corporate rules. I mean, it is different. Some
Yeah.
boss managers, some of their children are fine with it. They're like, oh yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
You could
right.
just talk smack
Yeah,
even about my own
right.
parents.
Fuck, he's offline too. God damn it.
Maybe it's
Wow.
Wi-Fi.
Maybe. Or maybe he really did just run off.
Could be an explanation for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but the thing about the business or whatever. Yeah, I feel like at least from like what I get from the story, it more like a loose like business structure. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not like Dan or whatever. And he doesn't seem to me like a very strict boss.
I mean, we've already learned not to trust Dan because he's fucking illegally employing a 17-year-old.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
that's like sort of like the hard thing too about things like this. You gotta think about it like how you said morally, and then there's legally.
Right.
Yeah, that's
He
yeah.
also didn't
Because-
do anything
yeah,
about
he-
Pajama Beard until the very last part.
That's the part I would have like gone. Is the
Yeah,
part I was
that's-
telling.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Blame him
Yeah.
on this fictional Dan and like just letting the Pajama Beard and his family just get away with this stuff. Like because they're like bad customers like
Mhm.
everywhere around there. Like especially like Karens or stuff like that. Like really like tolerated even though like stuff like that.
Legality versus morality.
I think too.
Yeah, I
with,
guess
like
not like that. Like
sorry.
Yeah.
Oh
no, you
thank you. Like the problem with it, like this whole story could have this whole situation could have been avoided had they like reported to upper management. So they reported with upper management, they won't come up like kicked out the customers. Because that was like a thing too. During my application process, they told us like they told us like even if like the customer is toxic to you, you report it and they'll get rid of the problem. And
oh yeah.
I think they should have done that first. And if the manager didn't do anything, I mean, it's a family-run business. You can't do anything at literally the highest point. Won't do anything. Then the best is
You're
quit.
forgetting, if she immediately reported Pajama Beard to her boss, we wouldn't have a story.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're thinking about.
Which is fucking another warning sign. Not immediately reporting the neckbeard for gross behavior.
Like,
Oh yeah,
Unless-
that's true. Kind of like, yeah, this really is a horror story. Like how the protagonist never calls the police when they're like a stalker, like stalking them or something.
Like, unless they had like a valid cause why they couldn't, like maybe their bosses also want like one of their buddies, or maybe like they're like
Right.
afraid for their life.
Oh yeah, like friends with the family, maybe something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Good excuse.
Then it's fine, but it seemed like there was no real conflict between the two, so it leaves no real excuse.
Right.
To
Yeah, and plus,
I mean, Dan should have already known something was off when this 22-year-old man came up to him asking for his 17-year-old employee's phone number.
Mm-hmm.
hey, you're back. You didn't want to wait? Where you go? Okay, you want to? He just teased. Oh, he's back. You didn't want to wait?
Oh, my phone died. I wasn't paying attention to the battery.
Oh, your
sorry about
battery.
that.
Yeah, I was hanging outside drinking my ice top with the dogs. I got distracted petting them.
Oh.
Speaking of which, my phone is about to die too. Hang on, I gotta plug it in
Yeah.
real quick.
I have my phone
Why
on
is
the
everyone
charger.
on your phone? I'm on my PC.
Oh, you lucky bastard!
Fucking superior
He's
ass
the master.
motherfucker, Ainz. Yeah, sure.
So whenever
Okay,
I
look,
record,
my PC is in pieces right now because I have to clean it out with the dust, and I forgot to order thermal paste. So
I hope
I
it goes.
covered it in a flat piece of cardboard and then covered that with some sheets to keep the static from getting on it, hopefully. So hopefully my parts are safe under that pile over there.
Oh,
Right.
I'm so sorry.
okay.
That's probably like the opposite of how you should be storing them, but I don't really give a shit, so.
Yeah. Anyway, we were just talking about how October, the bad employee. Also, at one point in another part of the story, she knowingly sells an expired chocolate bar to a customer.
I mean, it doesn't seem like the store really gives a
No.
shit, so I can
Yeah.
make the argument that she's just doing what she's told to do, which I don't blame a kid for that. Somebody as young as 17, I don't really blame them. I
Right.
wouldn't do it personally, but at the same time, I wouldn't be the type of person working there, so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't think her having issues with the manager's son is that big of a deal. I just think that people should be respected.
I forgot to mention, the manager's son is his only appearance is when he's instructed to tell her that she has to do a grocery run for Pajama Beard's family, and so she takes her anger towards Pajama Beard out on the manager's son, even though he's just following orders.
Weird.
Oh, so she
Yeah.
backsasses lots of the person's mother in front of the whole family.
Okay, so anyway,
Okay, let's finish this story up because I gotta go. Let's
okay,
finish-
yeah, we're almost done with part 2, so let's fucking speed run this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much? He asked in a stuffy voice. Not for sale, I replied, void of any emotion. I insist, he said, shoving a wad of bills in my direction. That was all inside the quotation marks. That smelled like a sun-baked porta potty. I cannot sell you my elk jerky as it's homemade and not a store item, I reply, now growing agitated. Elk jerky? He asked questioningly, then staring at me with a newfound interest. While he was doing this, I was counting his change so I could still smell his money on my hands. You like elk? He asked. Yeah, I said, better than beef. I see, he said with that sort of creepy, fascinated voice. Well, if I can't have that, then I'll take a free gummy worm. He then proceeded to grab this gummy worm. Sir, I said, trying to warn him. No, he cut me off, trying to be smooth. Call me Pajama Beard. Pajama Beard, I replied as quickly as he would allow. That's not a gummy worm. Too late. Too late. That entire blurb I just read, not a single period.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, nice.
Yeah. This experienced and skilled hunter had just chewed and swallowed a fucking mouse tail. Not a literal mouse tail, but a specific kind of trout bait. That's trout bait? Okay, that fucking... The redundancy is astounding. The fearsome predator then went from ghostly pale to a shade of green and proceeded to speed waddle out of the shop, taking his kill of Doritos and Pepsi with him. As soon as the door to the shop closed, I laughed the most hysterical laugh of possibly my entire life, and I couldn't stop until I started choking. The afternoon went calmly after that until a shrieking voice filled my ear. Have you ever heard an angry stellar blue jay? Well, imagine that, except that ear rape edition. That's what this woman sounded like. Dan then appeared in the shop doorway and this lady was still screaming, "Your employee tried to kill my son. She fed him fish food." I was dumbstruck by what I had just heard. Dan then looked at me dead in the eye and asked, "October, did you give this woman's son bait and say it was a gummy worm?" I paused, still in shock at what I was hearing. I then, through gritted teeth, explained how Pajama Beard had ingeniously grabbed the bait from the jar on the counter and helped himself to its soft, rubbery insides. And also, she says she explained it through gritty teeth, so I just like to imagine she looked absolutely ridiculous explaining the entire thing through gritted teeth. Like, he came in, talking about how he's a werewolf, and then he bought some fucking cherry Pepsi, the fucking communist that he is, and then he ate a mouse tail. Like, just fucking struggling to contain her rage.
Why was communist added in there?
We only know they drink cherry.
Well, for one thing, her username is Hunting Red October.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and also, it's because of a joke that Shiro made in the last recording, which we'll get to eventually.
Okay.
Anyway, the woman scoffed at me and called me a lying pig, then demanded I apologize. Not wanting to be sent home only 3 days into my 3-month work trip, I reluctantly apologized, first to Pajama Beard's mom, then to Pajama Beard himself, who had extremely red and watery eyes. In my head, has this little cunt been crying? But said nothing of it out loud. I instead just shot him the dirtiest looks I could muster.
Yeah.
Once they were satisfied with my apology, they left, causing the building to shake a little. So I know it's supposed to be hyperbole, but like fucking, if the building is shaking, that's not a good sign. Dan, of course, asked me again what happened.
The building than the people.
What?
Sounds more like a problem with the building than the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The fucking building shouldn't be shaking just because 2 fat people entered it. Dan, of course, asked me again what happened. I did my best to explain the entire event. I'm assuming she explains this through gritted teeth again. Starting with me opening the What?
She just spits in Dan's face this time.
Explain the entire event, starting with me opening the shop again late. She opens it late again. Apparently she's opened it late multiple times. All the way to
doesn't seem to get very much business, so doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's fair. All the way to Pajama Beard eating a mouse tail. After all was said, Dan chuckled a little and gave let me off a few minutes early for the trouble, as he put it. Oh my god, we got a kick out of this one. In hindsight, hyphenated and with sight spelled S-I-T-E.
That's a bit of a weird way to spell it, but I guess somebody who's not very good with English, I can see them making that mistake.
But we don't know OP's like ethnicity, but presumably she's in California. Now we're making a lot of presumptions here. But
Don't hit low. Don't hit low, Titan. Don't you hit low.
California explains everything.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes, I can attest. It's awful here.
Yep.
When you were living there, right? How many brain cells did you lose?
That's a secret. I'm not gonna tell you how many brain cells I lost.
Anyway, in hindsight, I shouldn't have apologized. I should have let Dan fire me and send me home right then and there, because after this event, Pajama Beard would go from gross and annoying to a persistent, borderline sexual harasser who would make it his goal by summer's end have me as his mate. All because he would take my love of elk, but all meats in general, really, way out of context. So, oh my god. So this our fucking 17-year-old protagonist really loves meat.
Oh my.
I'm sure you could make a lot of jokes about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was what OP was kind of making a joke about.
But that's for next time. Stay tuned for more tales from our lovesick, pajama-wearing, bait-eating wolfman. So that's the end of part 2, and we'll stop it there. So let's discuss it.
It's awful.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, and Salty. When you in the interim between you leaving the call and joining back in, we actually got to discussing how OP never really makes an attempt to report Pajama Beard to her boss.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I was about to mention that actually. Like, she seems like she has some weird mannerisms.
Yeah, and that's not the only weird mannerism she has. At one point, Pajama Beard calls her name, and even though she's trying to get away from him, she's like, he called my name, and because I wasn't raised in a barn, I stopped. Like, what the fuck? You're trying to get away from him. Just keep running.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think manners kind of go out the window when somebody's trying to sexually assault you, I'd imagine.
Exactly. Fucking, she never reports him to Dan, and
more like a man wrote this story.
yeah, and not to mention, at one point, Pajama Beard goes up to Dan and asks him for October's phone number, and Dan never does anything about this. Like, he turns Pajama Beard away, but he never, like, takes any action, you know?
Well, asking the manager for the number isn't necessarily indicative of anything crazy going on, but everything compounded should have given him some idea that the...
Well, I mean, to be fair, Pajama Beard is 22 years old, and October is 17, so that should have been some cause.
Yeah, I forgot about the fact, yeah. She doesn't seem like a 17-year-old, she just seems like an idiot adult, so I got confused.
Yeah.
I think.
And her age is going to be a very important plot point later, so just keep that in mind.
Very. It's awful. It's like one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
What, the
I
song?
want you to try and guess why we're harping on her age like this.
Because she's idiotic for her age?
Nope.
Our kids are idiotic.
Just make a educated guess, and then we will confirm it when we get there.
I don't know. Does she fucking flirt with him or some shit? I don't know.
So that's your guess. Are you?
You're asking me to guess. I mean, she's like, what about her age? Like, I'm just confused. Like, she says she's 17.
Something related to the fact that she's 17 that is very problematic.
Her boyfriend's age, maybe?
So that's your guess?
Yeah. Like, when her boyfriend, maybe his boyfriend is, like, fucking old.
Guys, you think we should just tell him now or wait until we get to the actual part of the story?
I would recommend tell him now.
Okay, yeah. She's dating a 20-year-old.
I fucking called it.
And California doesn't have a Romeo and Juliet law, so it is very illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Disgustingly illegal.
Yeah. And it is also implied that not only has he...
different, but in this case, it seems like it really is just not great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not only is that, it's implied that not only have they reached second base, but it's implied that they have also had sex in the past.
Great.
Yeah. So our headcanon is that Matt, that's the boyfriend's name, is the one who's actually writing this story. And it's just his, like, fetish fan fiction. Like, I've totally got a girlfriend, and she's 17, and hairy, and colorblind, and she loves eating meat, and she loves trout fishing, and also, I'm a lover, not a fighter, but I'm also well built from working in construction.
So basically, Matt is a loser, and he wrote the neckbeard to make himself seem better in this story with his imaginary girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because there's no
that's the current headcanon.
There's no possible way that this girl, if she existed at all, would ever date him unless there was a worse alternative around.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Also, like, the most unrealistic part is that it's implied her parents know that she is dating Matt.
Which is even more disgusting.
It depends. It really depends on the situation. Because 17, 18, 19, 20, that's a 3-year difference. I mean,
And they've also, I think it said at some point that they were dating for 3 years. So, or that this is their 3rd year together. So they would have met when she was 15 and he was 18.
15, is that still high school age?
Yes.
Okay, I can see that then. That's not as bad as I thought it was.
Oh, no, 18. Well, I don't know. Like,
If they were,
I
graduated
at 17.
I think it's a little bit weird for a freshman to be dating a senior, right? But by all means, there is relationships that have been like that, and they've been like, you know, like the person. Basically, the guy is weird, but he's not a sexual predator. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe he was still in high school at 18. I wouldn't know because I graduated at 17. But
I mean, I graduated at 18, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, maybe they did meet in high school and they just continued dating in spite of the fact that she's not a legal adult.
Yeah, no, that happens. That happens a lot.
That is the most charitable interpretation of this. And also, hang on, I'm gonna pull up a comment on the post where the boyfriend is introduced that I found very interesting. Because there is only one person in this entire comment section who brings up the age gap, and they manage to make themselves look even dumber. Because this comment by user Thogolicious says, I was confused on the age gap, but I remember that this is Canada.
And it's not.
India.
It's in California.
Wait,
last I checked,
related to?
The post where the boyfriend is introduced.
No, what about what the fuck does it have to do with Canada?
That's what he said.
Yeah, that's what the comment says.
No,
You
what
think
the fuck does that have to do with Canada?
I have no fucking idea because there's no place in Canada called California.
No, I mean, why are they saying Canada specifically? Like, is there something I don't know about Canada? Is everybody there a sexual predator?
Maybe in Canada the age of consent is younger than in the United States. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna look it up.
Look it up.
Canada
search history.
age. What?
I gotta go. I have some stuff to do.
Oh, all right.
Listen, I hope it goes well.
Yeah,
See you
thanks.
later.
We can finish it another time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Alright, yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
Yep. Adios.
Adios.
Okay. So
Okay.
apparently in 2008,
Okay.
the age of consent in Canada was changed from 14 to 16.
Oh. Fucking disgusting. Canada.
Yep. If you think that's bad, the age of consent in Japan is 13.
Ah, it's Japan. What do you expect?
Oh wait, I actually read about that. I actually think that's like kind of like similar in like United States. You know how there's like state and stuff. I think that's like the federal stuff, kind of, and like the prefectures or whatever they call it.
We have Romeo and Juliet laws, basically meaning that the age of consent varies by state, but if you're a legal child dating a legal adult, in most states it's okay as long as the age gap is small enough.
Yeah, that's what the...
However, like we said earlier, California is not one of those states.
They're there to
the third paragraph on the Wikipedia article for age of consent reform in Canada, Section 159 of the Criminal Code said the age of consent for anal intercourse is at 18 for non-married couples.
Okay,
you know there are gonna be like fucking 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds who are just gonna do it anyway, right?
Basically. There's no way of escaping that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even Canada has its problems.
So Canada's a weird place. But what confused me the most is the fact that this guy seems to think that this takes place in Canada, even though it's stated multiple times that it's in California. and the comment got 4 upvotes. 4 people agreed with him.
Reddit's a weird place. You can place like the most common sense, like place like words like if, and they'll admit it.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Ainz. I didn't hear you talking.
Oh no! I was just saying it just Reddit, so it to be expected that they'll upvote like stupid shit like that.
It's kind of sad, really.
Yeah, and especially people who actually believe the story because because I don't believe it for a second. I really do believe it just written by man.
Yeah. Oh, since we probably have at least like an hour left, you guys want me to read the last 2 stories for that big Irish goo 23?
Sure, let me... am I recording and restarting it again? So it won't like take much from my phone.
Oh, okay.